Emiru is getting sued by her ex-boyfriend Mizkif for defamation for the claim she made saying she was SA. She, in her most recent response, said it was her emotional truth, which is protected and not subject to a claim of defamation. In other words, Emiru is saying that when she said, you know, she was detailing SA.
I'm finally going to be opening up about the psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, assault and threats of blackmail that Mizkif has done towards me.
It wasn't a statement of fact, but just her emotional opinion, if you will. And therefore, Mizkif's lawsuit should get
Good night, Moogie.
dismissed. Well, Mizkif has a completely entire stance on this. As you would know, this was actually filed today, 3/17. Obviously, we know that comes Mizkif in his response to the opposition of Emiru's motion to dismiss. In opposition thereto, plaintiff respectfully showed the court. Now, he comes out the gate cooking. Emiru, look, this is a bold statement right here. Emiru lied.
Like, at first, Emiru had, like, a really good case, like a slam dunk case. But the fact that she misused that SA claim is really hurting her now. And now her court case is looking way shakier than it first looked out to be.
Her way into this lawsuit. The law won't allow her to lie her way out. Emiru cannot credibly claim that she did not accuse Mizkif of SA. The transcript she herself submitted to the court makes it clear that she did. This is true. This is true. Now, there's a little footnote right here. Emiru has put an issue purported to defamation claim by Mizkif Enterprises LLC against her. To be clear, the defamation claims are personal to Mizkif and not brought on behalf of Mizkif Enterprises LLC. While she, Emiru, devotes great efforts in her brief to attacking the side issues on the pivotal issue whether Mizkif has pled a defamation claim against her based on her false allegations of SA, she provides only the defense that the allegations were her emotional truth. In Mizkif's lawyer opinion, emotional truth is not a recognized defense to defamation in Texas. In the one case where the phrase is used, in dicta, in fact, illustrates why Emiru is not entitled to dismissal. Furthermore, even accepting such a doctrine existed, it would not apply. Wow. Emiru now self-serving claims that her comments were off the cuff, improvisational, and unrehearsed at the time she made the defamatory statements. In her live stream, she admitted that they were in fact planned, scripted, and indeed vetted by counsel.
Yeah, I remember that she did say that. I mean, we watched it happen live. Like, I was live streaming when all of that went down, and we watched it happen live. And I thought I remembered her saying that. And then I saw a clip recently where, from that stream, and I confirmed that. So, yeah, that's not looking too good. But this is just a motion to dismiss. So if she loses that point, it just means that they're proceeding with the lawsuit, right?
That's a truthful statement.
No,
all this is true. She did 100% say, hey, I spoke to a lawyer about this. She knew this lawsuit was coming. Now, this arguments and authorities, look.
But like, her lawyers fucked up. If this was vetted by counsel, why did they tell her to leave that in? She had enough, I think, with all the other stuff like the blackmail, the stalking, and all of that, the threats that he did to her, without having to add the weak like SA claim.
We don't have to read this. This is not important. This is basically saying for his lawsuit to file a motion to dismiss. He believes it should. If you want to pause the video to read this legal case doctrine about it, have at it. But we're here for the juice. Emiru directly misrepresents the facts of the case. This is according to Mizkif's lawyer.
Okay.
This lawsuit was born out of Emiru's knowing misrepresentations about Mizkif to thousands of people via her live stream platform. I believe she had an audience of about 60,000 people, and her current view count of her video has 1.8 million views. So the impact was substantial. It's unsurprising.
This is why you don't make videos of legal situations, handle these situations privately. She shot herself in the foot. Yeah, but I mean, I understand, because then the other party says, oh my god, I'm being sued. Let's do a GoFundMe, and then they also get to farm infinite sympathy. It's definitely tough, but you need to be super, super careful if you do make a statement. I know a lot of people are being counseled by their lawyers not to say anything, but a lot of content creators are like, yo, this is my life. I can't not say anything. Like, we saw this with the Takahata situation as well. He wasn't allowed to say something to defend himself, but then there was just like mounting criticism about him. So he was just like, fuck this, you know? And then when we saw, like, it's like, yeah, you can win your court case, but if you're condemned by the public court, it's also very hurtful for these people, because their entire identity is tied to their online identity.
Then that she adheres to her modus operandi in the first appearance before the court. Emiru's motion claim that
Modus operandi, is that how you pronounce it? I know I shouldn't blame anybody for the pronunciation, but I think it's modus operandi, no? No, okay, I should just shut the fuck up. It's the one he said. All right, you know, maybe in English, okay? Maybe in English.
delivering a rehearsed narrative, but instead was speaking openly and vulnerably in the moment. This is completely irreconcilable.
Yes. Silence, French woman. Seriously. I'm like, you didn't Frenchify it enough.
Wait.
Or you can watch an illiterate man, you know, who's 85, try and go through the documents if you want to do it that way too. It's okay.
Look, man, I know I'm not going to escape the I can't read rumors out there that are circulating, but this is completely irreconcilable with Emiru's own statements on the same live stream, a transcript of which Emiru herself submitted to the court. Basically, what she's saying in her court documents is different from what she said in her live stream. And there are, like, we have the footage. We can read it and then play the footage. So as you can see, I wrote up my notes, and not only that, I have even more notes. So yeah, if it seems like I'm reading a script of something, it's because I wrote super detailed notes because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. This is at the 2-minute 18-second mark. So let's go to it and see if this is, see if he lined it up correctly.
TwitchCon incident, some other things happened that kind of pushed me to talk about a lot of things that I want to talk about today. So as you can see, I wrote out my notes, and not only that, I have even more notes. So yeah, if it seems like I'm like reading a script or something, it's because I wrote super detailed notes because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So
all right, there you got it. So Mizkif 1-for-1-2. I want everyone to be aware I've been handling this situation very seriously, and I spent a lot of time thinking this over. Now, granted, this is cherry-picked statements, but all this is doing is trying to show that, hey, this was not an emotional plea. She didn't just go live and say, hey.
And I want everyone to be aware that I've been handling the situation very seriously, and I've spent a lot of time thinking this over.
And not only that, I've been in contact with a lawyer. I had them review everything that I'm planning to say today. And because I wanted to make sure that if I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. It's so serious.
And not only that, I've been in contact with a lawyer. I had them review everything that I'm planning to say today, because I wanted to make sure that if I was going to do this, I was going to do it right, because it's so serious.
All right, so there you go right there. Hey, she talked to a lawyer. Now that her defense is going to be, it's not a lawyer that was likely retained for her. Like I said, I took a lot of notes, so forgive me. if I'm just end up reading off my notes, this is just further proof that it was scripted in some
Can we get it?
way or capacity, if you will. Emiru should not be heard now to argue that her defamatory comments were some off-the-cuff, spontaneous emotional response when she specifically stated not only were her comments thoroughly planned and scripted, they were in fact reviewed by counsel in advance of the live stream. Now, I'm telling you, her defense is going to say, hey, I spoke to a lawyer, not my lawyer. It is what it is. You can call it what you want. Emiru directly misrepresents the holdings of Benson. Now, look, I understand this is a case, but normally I would skip the case law. But we really need to take a second look at this, because literally her entire defense rests on this case law. Before I just skipped it over.
Oh, because they're citing this case law of Benson, and now Mizkif's lawyers are claiming Emiru's side is misrepresenting the case. Mizkif's lawyers seem competent.
Like,
Actually,
oh, it's emotional
they seem
truth is
good.
BS, because his lawyer has a completely different interpretation of it. So, continuing her pattern of misrepresentations, Emiru misleads the court as to the holding of the Benson case. Emiru relies on the Benson for the supposed proportion that her claims that Mizkif SA'd her are non-actionable as emotional truth. Benson, in fact, stands for the exact opposite proposition. Okay, so now they're like, hey, the case she quoted does not apply her. It is actually the opposite. It actually will hold her accountable under this defense. Let's hear their logic. Benson concerned a widely circulated TikTok video wherein the daughter, 1, accused her stepfather of SA, 2, made nebulous statements about her mother saying it wasn't her problem, or that the daughter was disrespecting her relationship by raising the issue. Both stepfather and mother asserted separate claims for defamation. So, hey, they both sued the daughter for defamation, which is wild, but
Yeah.
I guess you live in that world. As to the stepfather's claims, Benson court specifically rejected the argument that Emiru now advances, citing Benson in her reply to support of her motion to dismiss. The daughter asserted that her statement about the stepfather was not defamatory per se, because SA is commonly understood as merely touching someone in a sexual way when they do not want you to. But the fact that that term may have more than one meaning does not factor into our analysis at this stage for the proceeding. In reviewing whether the stepfather's defamation claim survived the TCPA challenge, the trial court was required to consider only the legal question of whether the words were used were reasonably capable of a defamatory meaning. So you as the audience, you as the jury in this case, when Emiru went live and accused Mizkif of SA, do you think that had some defamatory meaning? I think it's a clear-cut yes.
Yeah.
If you didn't do it. For the proposition that if a statement is capable of at least one defamatory and at least one non-defamatory meaning, it's for the jury to determine whether defamatory sense was once conveyed. So would 12 people who watched Emiru's live stream come to the conclusion that because Mizkif was never charged with SA, convicted of SA, therefore Emiru, knowing this, when she made that statement, did she defame him? Now, she could also play stupid and say, well, what is really SA? She could do that. And she can also have the defense, well, when she went to a lawyer, it wasn't her lawyer. So you have these little outs for it. Is she going to take them? I'm not sure, but I imagine because all the money at stake, she's going to respond to his response. The purported emotional truth defense that Emiru raised related not to the stepfather's claims, but to the mother's claims. Okay, now let's go back up, because she accused the mother of knowing. She said, hey mom, when the daughter accused the father SA, made nebulous a statement about her mother saying it wasn't her problem, or that the daughter was disrespecting her relationship by raising the issue. They're saying
that's crazy.
The emotional truth applies to the mother, not the father, because he was actually accused of a crime, okay? The purported emotional truth defense that Emiru raised related to the stepfather claims, but not the mother claims. The mother asserted defamation claims based on the daughter's statements that the mother, one, knew about the essay, but did not care. Two, characterized the essay as a mistake. Three, told the daughter that the essay wasn't the mother's problem. Four, failed to protect the daughter. Five, abandoned the daughter in support of the stepfather. The Benson court found that these sorts of statements reflected opinions because taken as a whole, they conveyed her personal viewpoint, i.e. her own emotional truth, not a purported fact. What's the emotional truth? The emotional truth applies to the mom. They're saying it applies to the mom, not necessarily if the father. One, that the mom didn't care about the essay. That's an opinion. Two, characterize the essay as a mistake. That's the mother who characterized it as a mistake. That's what the mom said was her opinion. Told the daughter that the essay wasn't the mother's problem. That is more so the viewpoint from the
That's so crazy.
daughter. Failed to protect the daughter. Protection is the viewpoint from the daughter to the mom, like, hey, mom, you didn't protect me. Five, abandoned the daughter in support of the stepfather. That is the daughter's opinion. So this is where the emotional truth applies, not necessarily the father being accused of essay. The Benson court found that these sorts of statements reflect opinions because taken as a whole, they convey the daughter's personal viewpoint, i.e. her own emotional truth, not a purported fact. Nothing in Benson stands for the proposition urged by Emiru that she is free to slander Mizkif in a planned scripted statement that was vetted by counsel before publication, so long as she claims that she is emotional about the alleged acts. To adopt such an interpretation would amount to overturning Texas' long-standing position that allegations of criminal acts are defamatory per se. And this is what Legal Mindset pointed out in his video right here, which we can watch for a quick second.
So the area where she screwed up was by talking about SA. She should have never said the word SA, right? And that's where Emiru messed up. That's the one thing she did that was a mess up, and a clear mess up, right? So in Texas, it's defamation per se. That means kind of automatically defamation if you accuse someone of a crime or if you have an imputation of serious sexual misconduct. So accusing someone of SA, you see the word right here, and not being an SA, right? There's nothing wrong with.
All right, we really don't need all of that, but you kind of get the gist that, yeah, she accused him of SA in a court of Texas that is considered defamatory. Emiru urges that her defamation distinguishable from Benson because she provided a description later of the purported SA while the daughter in the Benson did not. But the context of the transcripts makes it clear that description was buried so as to render it ineffective to prevent the defamatory meaning of SA from being understood by the audience. In other words, you're about to see that it came up way later in her live stream. By the timestamps in Emiru's own transcript, she first accused Mizkif of SA 20 minutes into her live stream, which we don't need to go there. We see that. She does not elaborate further. Less than 2 minutes later, she falsely suggests that Mizkif had done something similar to someone in LA. It is not for another 30 minutes that Emiru provides context she contends should exonerate her. In other words, Emiru started.
Because in her defense, she was saying, but I explained the situation. So it's up to the viewers to make up their mind on whether or not it was SA or not. I didn't tell them how to think. This was my emotional truth. But now they're claiming, you know, it's a little different.
The Mizkif segment in her 1.8 million view video saying she's going to detail the essay committed by Mizkif, or, you know, that she's been surviving, however you want to interpret that. And then 30 minutes after that, she gives he hopped on me and kissed me, I was crying, finger popped me, I yelped, he got off, which he is not disagreeing with. But they also got back together after that. And you always beg the case, well, if someone SA'd you, would you get back with them? And, you know, that's victim blaming. You tell me. In the reality of the internet age, which Emiru well knows that information does not wait 30 minutes to hear the context before it spreads 100%. Soon as she said it, that clip was everywhere. That opening clip, and then 30 minutes later she give that. By then, that the first clip had already probably like 1 million views on X. Emiru's claims that no reasonable viewer of the live stream would have understood her allegations referred to literal SA are bellied by thousands upon thousands of viewers who clearly did. This is a truthful statement. Since Emiru's allegations, Mizkif has routinely been called a grapist, both in real life and on the internet, where some commenters have gone so far to call him Grapekif. Now, why he put this in there, I guess for dramatic effect. Assuming that Emiru ever truly thought no one would believe she was accusing Mizkif of an actual SA, her total inaction to correct the record after it became plain that this was the message received inexplicable. Her refusal to issue a properly demanded retraction, which he did. Mizkif sent her lawyer saying, hey, have your client make a retraction. And they literally looked at that and said, nope. No, I showed it in the last video. So he like, look, she didn't retract it. That means it makes it clear that Emiru's intention was to portray Mizkif as a grapist. She cannot now, having accomplished that end, tarnishing Mizkif's reputation and taking from him the career he spent more than a decade building, claiming that she never intended to be taken seriously. What do you guys think? This is just like part one. Now,
yeah, there's too many gachas, too much money, but also there's too many dailies to do. It's too hard to keep up with all the gachas. Honestly, I feel like he had already, his reputation was already sinking before that. That just was the final like nail. But I remember distinctively after the whole crazy slick thing, where people were saying that he sent Maya and this other person to that girl's house to not let her talk about her SA case. He had like, he barely streamed after, and when he did some streams that were like on an alt channel and stuff, where he basically was saying that he was super depressed, that everybody had turned away from him, and like he was already struggling back then. That was years ago. So there's been a lot of things going on around him. I'm a fox.
He's about to make an argument that his complaint is sufficient. We really don't need to read this, but if you want to pause it, go ahead. When a defendant is complaining of matters that can be clarified and developed during discovery, not matters that impede his ability from a representative pleading, an order directing the plaintiff to provide more definitive statement is not warranted. He's saying, hey, I don't have to provide more information. I provided enough as is. Here, Mizkif has provided a detailed itemized list of the statements, included information concerning who made them, via what medium.
No, stop gaslighting new chatters. Listen to me, chat.
And what date. He has provided the content of the statement. He has even provided timestamps and statements can be located. Emiru cannot seriously contend that she is unable to respond to the suit. In his conclusion, he wants the court to deny her motion to dismiss, and which I think it personally will be denied because it's clear and evident that Emiru's legal team left off some context, or as what they say, misled the court. In conclusion, Mizkif, like I said, he may not have no case against Asmongold. That is going to get dismissed. And the case against King Gaming Labs and Mythic Talent will likely end in arbitration because he never terminated their relationship between Mythic Talent and himself. But the lawsuit against Emiru may hold water because this emotional truth, if you can just go out and just say, hey, such and such SA'd me, and then 30 minutes later you say what the SA is, and it could be not something completely different from SA, and they say, you sue her for defamation, emotional truth, then that opens a huge can of worms. But what do you think of
Yeah, I also felt that in her defense, in her motion to dismiss, like citing that Ben's case or whatever was also like not strong.
of the
Bye-bye, buddy.
Emiru Mizkif response? Do you think this case is going to get dismissed? Let me know in the comment section, because that's the
No, I
biggest
don't think
thing.
so.
Me personally, no. I think he has a strong case against Emiru, no case against Asmongold, and arbitration for Mythic Talent. And maybe at some point I'll update you on Asmongold's latest attempt to get his case dismissed. Like, share.
Why arbitration against Mythic? I'm curious. But I think, yeah, I think this is going to court. She's not going to be able to dismiss it. But she did say that she hopes it goes to court because there'd be more stuff in Discovery. So let's see if she was right about that. Hey, you! Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell button. And I'll see you in the next video.